Sam Shoemate, welcome to the show, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm nervous about this one.
Yeah, me too.
I'm really nervous about this one. So yesterday I come into work and our stuff's been exploding because of the Sarah Adams. Had Sarah Adams, Scott Mann, legend, did an interview with Masood, kind of warning everybody about it's going to be a lot of terrorism here in 2025. Didn't take long. Jan 1, it hit. And, it's interesting. We couldn't get any mainstream media's outlets to pay attention to those interviews. And nobody would really give Sarah a voice. Now everybody wants to give Sarah a voice because, oh, guess what? The fucking CIA targeter was actually right. Mainstream media gave her no attention. So that's been going crazy. I come in yesterday and for an interview, the first thing I do is talk to my producer, Jeremy, and he says that he's been in contact with you and that you had received some type of manifesto or email from the Green Beret that set off the car bomb at Trump Hotel in Las Vegas.
Right.
Jump in an interview and come out. My phone is blown up. Apparently CID, Army CID, which is, how would you describe it? It's like it's
FBI
like,
light.
Yeah.
They are federal agents, but yeah,
the Army's FBI.
Yeah.
I get all these messages from these people that say CID is talking to this person and that person, and one of these guys on the list is still operational, and they want his name redacted, and every Green Beret I know is texting me about this. It fucking really freaked me out, man. It was like, well, how did this leak? Who's tracking my fucking phone? All that kind of stuff. So I just want to say thank you for being here because I was eavesdropping in on that conversation you had with Jeremy, and this is a big story, man. This is big.
Yeah, it is
real big, and so thank you for being here.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
But I do, before we get too heavy, I got some gifts for you. Here you go.
Excellent.
So we're talking about people monitoring the phone. Have you heard of the unplugged phone?
Yeah.
And for anybody that wants to purchase this phone, you can get it at unplugged.com/Sean Ryan.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, so the unplugged phone keeps big tech from monitoring your texts and your calls. There's a secure messaging app in there. There's a secure email. So get that thing wired up. And
absolutely.
Let's talk on that from now on. So,
okay.
And then everybody gets a bag of these.
Been waiting for this.
Nice.
This is awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Very cool.
But all right, let's dive into it. This is going to be kind of tough. I didn't have, like I said, I was interviewing yesterday, so we're kind of winging it here.
Yeah.
But, so before we jump in, I just want to say a couple things about today. And we're not necessarily validating what came in on that email. There's some pretty alarming stuff that came out in the email about the drones that we're seeing on the East Coast and some capabilities that China has, some capabilities that we have, some activity that went on in Afghanistan in 2019, which actually we do have news reports that is valid. A lot of this stuff actually really lines up, but we can't give it 100% credibility.
Right.
I think you would agree with that as an intelligence analyst.
100%.
And then additionally, there are a few names, two, I believe, that we are redacting from this because they are still operational. And as much as I would love to release those names, we're not gonna do it so that those guys can remain undercover and not burn their entire operation of what they're into right now. And there was one more thing. I want to give a little background on you. Retired from the Army in 2023 as a CW2 intelligence officer and understand the information war. In 2020, you were still on active duty. You started a social media account where you intended to share memes and GIFs. Despite your intentions, the account grew into what it is today. You've developed, what is the account's name?
It's an Instagram account, goes by Terminal CWO.
Terminal CWO. You've developed a robust network of service members across the Department of Defense who trust you with their reports of unethical and, in some cases, illegal behavior from their leaders. You expose the unethical and illegal behavior while protecting whistleblowers in order to hold military leaders accountable, which is why you received the email from the Green Beret. And because of your background, you come across wild information all the time. You're here today because of an email you received from Matthew Livelsberger a couple of days before the Cybertruck bombing at Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas. You'll also be able to discuss what you know about the terrorists who conducted the New Orleans attack. Did I miss anything?
No, that sums it up. Yeah.
Perfect.
I'll give a background on why that's significant so your viewers understand how this came into my inbox.
Perfect. One other thing that I just wanted to say to the audience is, even though we are redacting these names from the episode, you pass that, I believe you passed that email on to the FBI.
Yes.
We're also going to pass it on to our contacts at the FBI. It's very obvious that people know it. Like I said, the CID has been telling everybody. In fact, we talked to Jeremy, who's sitting over there, my producer, me, him, and my attorney, Tim Parlatore. We're up till about 10:30 last night talking to the Chief of Staff?
The Army Chief of Staff PA.
The Army Chief of Staff's POA took a major interest in this as well. And, one of the things that he said, I'll wait till later to bring that up, but I don't know, I don't trust any of these people. I mean, public affairs officers are there to...
I'll keep my mouth closed on this one.
create
PAO is there to protect the command.
Yeah.
100%, nothing else.
Yeah.
They're not there to shed transparency on anything. They are there to protect the command.
Let's recreate what the story is. But, and you know what's interesting? Fuck it, I'm just going to say it. You know what he said? He goes, on the call, he said, I didn't talk to him. I didn't want to talk to him. But so had them talk to him. He said, between me and you guys, this guy's DNA didn't match his son. And made it sound like it's some big secret. Then at 9:34 p.m., I think it was 9:34 p.m., the New York Post had a headline that said that so they're trying to make it sound like this guy did this because maybe he found out the son wasn't his. But there's a lot more to this story, as you'll find out. So
yeah.
So let's go to you, Sam. Tell me how you got the email.
All right. So for context, I've run this account for the last 4.5 years. There have been people in and out writing articles and different stuff and just investigations, some big, some small, just trying to keep accountability in the military, but developed a robust network within the military, all branches, and people feed into this and send me messages and here and there. Nothing ever like this has ever come in. But well, it started off as comments. So when you have a big Instagram account, you're going to miss a lot of messages because people message, go to hidden messages and everything else. You miss a lot of stuff. Well, I kept seeing this comment on recent posts that I put in there, and it was from this burner account that said, hey, check your DMs, check your DMs, check your DMs. So I go in there and try to find it. There's no message from this guy, hadn't come through or whatever. And then he messages again once that message was opened up. And I said, hey, your previous messages haven't come through. What do you want to tell me? And he said, what I'm going to send you, now these are literally his words, what I'm going to send you is going to change the course of humanity. That was his phrase, change the course of humanity. Okay, a little bit dramatic. I get these messages all the time. People have this big story they want to tell. They want to expose their command, whatever. I take everything with a grain of salt until I have evidence and proof. So this guy is insistent. He tells me that he is a 18 Zulu who I've spoken to before, and he really needs to get this stuff to me. And then he talks about you. He says, I need you to get me in contact with Sean Ryan. I'm like, dude, I don't know Sean Ryan. I'm not that big. But he's insistent that I get him diverted to media sources, says go to Fox News, whatever else. And I said, all right, tell me what you got. So I give him my Proton email account, give him my signal number. And he reaches out immediately. And I'm going to read this initial message for you because doesn't have names or anything else on it. But this was his message on Sunday. He reached out and said, like I said, this last Sunday, he said, sending with a VPN active on Wi-Fi only. Do not message me. I will send out updates via both Signal and email, but trust me, you're going to want to be involved. Well, first of all, no, I didn't want to be involved. Anyways, and then, so I didn't message. I responded back to his original Instagram message, and I said, hey, I got your message on Proton Mail, and he said, cool, delete this. So I deleted it. That's how I ended up getting this message on Tuesday. So the message that this right here, this manifesto, if you want to call it that, came in on Tuesday. And when I started reading this, my initial take was, okay, this is off the deep end. It's bonkers. I can't validate or verify any of the stuff in this manifesto. Mm-hmm. And I told him that in a subsequent email. And I'll read that to you later, my response to him. And once again, my response to him elicited, hey, get me in contact with Sean Ryan, Fox News, and he even said Pete Hegseth. Get me in contact with Hegseth. And I'm like, dude, I don't have the incoming Secretary of Defense's phone number. Sorry, bro. That's the last time I talked to him. So yesterday morning.
What date was that?
That was Tuesday. That was this Tuesday. So we're Friday now. That was 3 days ago.
So the
day before.
30th?
Yeah, the day before the attack. I dismissed this stuff out of hand.
The 31st. It was on the 31st.
Yes. In fact, I posted something on my... I told your producer about this as well. But this was a post I made on Twitter. I was just trying to be humorous, off the cuff. It was... I didn't mean anything about it. I was just being humorous for my audience. I said, my inbox was especially eventful today. Allegations of war crimes, government anti-gravity technology, and fears about being tracked and watched by the feds. It's always, the world is ending and I have this information that needs to get to the media, and never, how you doing, brother? Everything all right? I was just playing off of a meme. Mm-hmm. It was just supposed to be a joke. That was the body of his email that he sent me. And I didn't think anything about it. I didn't know who Matt Berg was, Matt Livelsberger, or anything else. He told me who he was in the email. He pointed me to his LinkedIn account. I didn't know any of this stuff. And I was just kind of being humorous with my audience. Like, I get these crazy messages sometime. And then the day after that message, I wake up and my buddy was like, hey, Sam, nobody in the community seems to know this guy. Do you happen to know who he is? And I played that for you before we came up here. Just absolute shock. That's how I woke up yesterday.
Do you want to play it now?
Yeah, excuse my language. I was definitely in shock. Let me find this chat. So,
you know, while you're digging through that, you know what we should do? I should get that Instagram account from you to see if they messaged any of our Instagram accounts, and we should also get that email
I don't have
address.
it. I deleted it.
You deleted it.
He told me to delete it, and I deleted it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We should also get that email address and see if they sent it in through the website, and see if he tried to contact us. Get that to the FBI.
So I'm in a military.
Hopefully they actually do something.
Yeah, I'm in a military group chat. Buddy Green Beret Corey, he says at Sam. Nobody I've asked in the community knows him. You is at 8:46 a.m. yesterday. So I woke up and I said, OF, I'm shaking. This guy emailed me 2 days ago. I'm not playing. And then he said, damn. And then this was my response to him at 8:48. Like, just woke up.
Dude, I'm fucking shaking, bro. You don't understand. This guy emailed me and told me he was being watched by the FBI and Homeland Security, but they weren't going to do anything to him because he had a VBID. I'm not fucking playing, dude. I have the email. I am shaking, man. This is nuts.
And it goes from there. And I sat there for probably an hour talking to my wife. I'm shaking. I can't even think straight. Like, normal day is shot. And I didn't know what I want to do. Do I sit on this? Do I do nothing with it? I've got to tell somebody. I've got to tell the FBI at least, because this is huge. This is all over the news. And then I was like, well, dude, this guy wanted to get in contact with Sean Ryan. So let me get this to Sean Ryan, see if I can get with him. And I had a buddy who knew your producer, and we went from there. But
Wow. You want to read the email?
Yep. So this email came in on December 31st at 10:42 a.m. That is Tuesday. He said, in case I do not make it to my decision point or onto the Mexico border, I am sending this now. Please do not release this until 1 January and keep my identity private until then. First off, I am not under duress or hostile influence or control. My first car was a 2006 black Ford Mustang V6 for verification. What we have been seeing with drones, he puts that in quotes, he says drones, is the operational use of gravitic propulsion systems powered aircraft by most recently China and the East Coast, but throughout history, the US. Only we in China have this capability. Our OPCEN, that's Operations Center, our OPCEN location for this activity is in the box below. China has been launching them from the Atlantic from submarines for years, but this activity recently has picked up. As of now, it is just a show of force, and they are using it similar to how they used the balloon for SIGINT and ISR, which are also part of the integrated comm system. There are dozens of those balloons in the air at any given time. The so what is because of the speed and stealth of these unmanned aircraft. They are the most dangerous threat to national security that has ever existed. They basically have an unlimited payload capacity and can park it over the White House if they wanted. It's checkmate. U.S. government needs to give the history of this, how we are employing it and weaponizing it, how China is employing them and what the way forward is. China is poised to attack anywhere in the East Coast. I've been followed for over a week now from likely Homeland or FBI, and they are looking to move on me and are unlikely going to let me cross into Mexico, but won't because they know I am armed and I have a massive V-bid. Let me pause right there for a second. So he says a massive V-bid. When I was talking to the FBI yesterday, they didn't know what a V-bid was. I had to explain what that acronym meant, literally.
You fucking serious?
Dead serious. I said it twice and he goes, you said that word V-bid. Can you tell me what that is? For your audience, a V-bid, for your audience who has not been in the GWOT for the last 20 years, a V-bid is a vehicle-borne improvised explosive device. In layman's terms, a car bomb, what we saw at Trump Tower. So, backing up, he says, I am armed and have a massive V-bid. I've been trying to maintain a very visible profile and have kept my phone, and they are definitely digitally tracking me. Here's where he gets into the other stuff, and this is where we had to redact the names. Well, your producer redacted the names. I have knowledge of this program and also war crimes that were covered up during airstrikes in Nimruz province, Afghanistan in 2019 by the admin, DOD, DEA, and CIA. I conducted targeting for these strikes of over 125 buildings. 65 were struck because of civcas, that's civilian casualties, that killed hundreds of civilians in a single day. U.S. FORA continued strikes after spotting civilians on initial ISR. It was supposed to take 6 minutes and scramble all aircraft in CENTCOM. The UN basically called these war crimes, but the administration made them disappear. I was part of that cover-up with U.S. FORA, an agent, redacted, of the DEA. So I don't know if my abduction attempt is related to either. I worked with, redacted, IO staff on this as well as the response to Bala Murghab. Redacted commander at the time, redacted, can validate this. You need to elevate this to the media so we avoid a world war because this is a mutually assured destruction situation. Then he says, for vetting, my LinkedIn is Matt Berg or Matthew Livelsberger, an active duty 18 Zulu out of 110, that's 1st Battalion 10th Special Forces Group. My profile is public. I have an active TSSCI with UAP, USAP access.
What is USAP? Do you know what that is?
I don't know what that is. But I checked his credentials on LinkedIn. So that was the first thing I did. I went to his LinkedIn page. First thing I noticed was all of his bona fides were in place. He has all the UAS training from USASOC and everything else. And so I said, okay, at least the guy knows what he's talking about with drones. That was a very rough dig into the guy. But my issue was I couldn't validate or verify any of this information. And I told him that. And how I responded to him was in a subsequent email. I said, this is obviously a very big deal, but I don't have anything to verify this information with. Talking about gravitic propulsion systems without evidence just makes me another UFO talking head. Like, I'm not going to go on my social media page and start talking about UFOs and anti-gravity systems and everything. I don't know what you're talking about. I can't. And he said, can I get on Fox News Contact on Signal as well as Sean's show? Hegseth would be good too. That was his last message to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, the thing is, what is a gravitic propulsion system?
To be honest with you, it is a fancy term you're going to find in science fiction. You won't find it in any, as far as I know, you won't find this in any kind of official manual or, scientific research. This is all science fiction. So, but what struck me is his use what strikes me now, not then, but what strikes me now is his use of a very specific term that nobody else call it. If you asked me, I would say an anti-gravity propulsion system. That's how I would describe it, because I don't know this stuff. He said gravitic propulsion system.
We looked that up last night too, and all we could find was same thing, science fiction type stuff. But there are some things that line up. One is, like I had mentioned, well, let's talk about the guy's story. Obviously, he had a VBID. Obviously, he was in the military and served. And the thing that he was talking about in 2019, we pulled a report. This is from October 9th, 2019. UN report find alleged drug facilities were not lawful target airstrikes caused significant civilian casualties. The United Nations Special Report, which examines the impact on civilians of the United States airstrikes on alleged drug processing facilities on 5 May 2019 in Afghanistan, determines the operation caused a large number of civilian casualties. The report also examines the legal framework applicable to this incident. In June 2019, the UN assistance mission in Afghanistan, together with representatives of the Afghanistan Independent Human Rights Commission, conducted a site visit to areas impacted by the strikes in Farah Province, Bakwa District, as part of its extensive fact-finding into the 5 May incident. The UN verified 39 civilian casualties, among them 14 children, 1 woman, from multiple airstrikes on more than 60 sites that the United States Afghanistan identified as drug production facilities in Bakwa District and in parts of neighboring Delaram District of Nimraz Province. Moreover, the UN is working to verify credible reports of at least 37 additional civilian casualties, the majority of whom were women and children. Although airstrikes on the alleged drug processing facilities had taken place before, this was the first time that UNAMA had received reports of large number of civilian casualties resulting from such an operation. And it goes on. I'm not going to read all this. We'll link the article here. But so that 100% lines up. The other thing, that really struck me is, like I had mentioned, after our phone call, I jumped in an interview. After the interview, checked my phone, and I had several Green Berets, former Green Berets, one still active. Actually, I'm just going to say it was Tim Kennedy sent me a message late last night about 9 p.m. and said, hey, I should have brought my phone up here, but hey, basically that USASOC wants to give me more context on what had happened on this guy. And so first I wasn't going to take the call because I don't trust the government anymore. I don't think anybody does. But I was on the phone with my producer, who was a Naval Surface Warfare officer, and my attorney, Tim Parlatore. They said we should talk to him. So I called Tim, was really pissed off, reamed his ass about it, and then later apologized. But, I think you had mentioned that you had received a message from somebody that says nobody's heard of this guy. Tim sent me a picture of him shooting with this guy. And I don't know if I should release that photo or not, but Tim basically told me this. So I got the POA's number, the public affairs officer, sent it to Jeremy and Tim. He talked to them. And what they wanted us to know was that this guy was an upstanding soldier, an excellent operator, was moving on, was moving towards retirement and moving on to basically enhance the future of warfare. They wanted us to know that. Then the PA officer, sounds like almost jokingly said, which I don't know why you would joke about this, said that, and between us, which why the fuck would a POA officer say between us? I mean, if they didn't want us to know that information, then they just wouldn't have told us that. But they wanted us to know, obviously, that the DNA with his with his supposed child was not a match. And so I think what they were trying to do is basically make this out to be, oh, this is why this happened. He got bad news that that's not his child, and so that's why he did it. But with all the other context, especially with the 2019 incident, which was obviously a cover-up, I think that has a major role in this. The other thing is, I started receiving a lot of messages from one of the redacted names, who's a DEA agent, the one that he's talking about in the email to you. We got it from multiple sources, one of which was actually a videographer for me, I think 4 years ago. He worked for me a very short period of time. I had to let him go. He joined the Army, went to OCS, became an Army officer, sent me a text, super freaked out. Apparently he was on some rafting trip with somebody that knows the DEA officer and said, hey, this guy's still operational. He wants his name redacted.
Wow.
Not the only one. Then I received a message from another very close friend of mine who's been on the show several times saying that he got word that this guy was still operational. And so that's why we decided to redact his name. I was getting upset because I didn't receive any communication up to that point. Well, then I checked my LinkedIn. I said, let me see if this guy actually messaged me. Sure as shit, that DEA agent did message me, said that he wanted to talk to me before tomorrow's interview. It was really important.
Wow.
We tried to contact him, not from my phone. I'm not calling any of these people, but from somebody else's phone. He didn't pick up, and we weren't going to send any text thread to show any communication between us any more than the LinkedIn message. And I didn't hit him on LinkedIn. So that also 100% checks out. Now, the weird thing is anonymous as this guy wants to remain, if I remember correctly, he posted something about the Green Beret that set
did
the
he?
bomb off.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
that was his latest post. Well, Jeremy, what was it? What did the post?
And it was just a report of the story.
It was just a report of the story. So very interesting how all this stuff is lining up. What do you think?
I told the guys this downstairs, I jokingly said this to my wife the day that I got that email, because I read the email to her. You all have heard the email now. You realize without context of who this person is, how just crazy it sounds. And I told her, I said, well, I mean, I guess if the dude ends up getting rolled up by the feds or he gets killed, we got a story, huh? Man, famous last words, right?
Yeah.
That's so I looked at, and I want to give context on one of the things. I saw this going around on social media. People were saying that his Signal chat, his safety number changed. I don't know if you saw this on X, but it was all over X. Apparently his safety number on Signal changed. He messaged me on Signal. So I went on there to look myself to see if it changed. And sure enough, it had. On January 1st, after the bombing, after he was dead, his safety number changed. That's all he sent me. He said initial contact, and I gave a thumbs up, and his safety number changed at the bottom.
Look at that.
That's after he's dead. I don't know enough about Signal to know why that would happen. Somebody has to have manipulated that, though, and messed with it. Somebody had to have been in his account after the fact and done something for that to have changed.
What did the FBI say when you contacted him?
Not a lot. I gave him the story on what went down. Was very over the top, telling them, hey, I am being transparent in every way. Feel free to contact me at any time. This is my address, my name. This is why he contacted me. This is my social media page. This is any reason why this could have happened, why this got dumped on me. This is the information. They took it. They were gracious. They were nice to talk to. Mind you, I had to explain what a VBID was, which was disheartening because you're the FBI, but that's another issue altogether. But nothing beyond that. They said, thank you, and we'll be in touch if we have any further questions.
Well, they definitely got in touch with CID.
Yeah, they did.
Because that went all the way to the top of the Army. And, I'm going to dig in a little bit more on this report from 2019. However, according to international humanitarian law, including international customary law, facilities that contribute economically or financially to the war effort or of a party to a conflict are considered civilian objectives. The report, jointly produced by UNAMA and the UN Human Rights Office, concludes that the drug facilities associated with workers may not be lawfully made the target of attack and should be protected. The United Nations maintains that considering these objectives and individuals legitimate targets dangerously erode the fundamental principle of distinction, placing the broader civilian population and infrastructure at risk. The report sets out a number of recommendations, including that the appropriate and legal response to illicit drug activity is through law enforcement, not military operations that endanger civilians.
Well, and here's the thing. We want to know why the DOD is scrambling on this, why the FBI pushed this to them so quickly, to CID all the way up to the very top. These are very, very serious allegations.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like UN level opening an investigation type stuff into alleged war crimes. This is no joke.
It did happen.
Yeah, the ripple effect is going to be massive on this.
It did happen. I think we should take a quick break. I want to scrape our email to see if this Green Beret, what's his name again?
Matt Livelsberger.
Matt Livelsberger. Let's see.
Burger. Okay.
Let's see if Matthew Livelsberger sent us an email through our website email desk. We'll be right back. I know everybody out there has to be just as frustrated as I am when it comes to the BS and the rhetoric that the mainstream media continuously tries to force feed us. And I also know how frustrating it can be to try to find some type of a reliable news source. It's getting really hard to find the truth and what's going on in the country and in the world. And so one thing we've done here at Sean Ryan Show is we are developing our newsletter. And the first contributor to the newsletter that we have is a woman, former CIA targeter. Some of you may know her as Sarah Adams, call sign Superbad. She's made 2 different appearances here on the Sean Ryan Show. And some of the stuff that she has uncovered and broke on this show is just absolutely mind-blowing. And so I've asked her if she would contribute to the newsletter and give us a weekly intelligence brief. So it's going to be all things terrorists, how terrorists are coming up through the southern border, how they're entering the country, how they're traveling, what these different terrorist organizations throughout the world are up to. And here's the best part, the newsletter is actually free. We're not going to spam you. It's about 1 newsletter a week, maybe 2 if we release 2 shows. The only other thing that's going to be in there besides the intel brief is if we have a new product or something like that. But like I said, it's a free CIA intelligence brief. Sign up. Links in the description or in the comments. We'll see you in the newsletter. Join me and my special guest for the next behind-the-scenes experience exclusively available on Vigilance Elite Patreon. The behind-the-scenes footage is raw and uncut. This is as close to the set as you can possibly get. You can expect anything from off-topic conversations, studio tours, the final moments before the interview starts, and everything in between. The behind-the-scenes content is constantly evolving and will continue to bring you more as we grow. You can gain access for just $15 a month exclusively at Vigilance Elite Patreon. All right, Sam, we're back from the break. We did do a scrape of the email. Here is what we got. He actually did email us. This came in on December 29th, 2024 at 10:17 p.m. Emailed through the support desk on SeanRyanShow.com. And by the way, all these emails will be posted on my X account, Sean Ryan 762, and your X account,
Samosaur.
All right, here's the message traffic. Hey man, this is an active duty SFTM sergeant out of 10th. I want to blow the whistle on our activities in a certain place. I'm willing to sit down with you on the 31st in Flagstaff or do it remotely via phone. Must be done before the 31st, as I'll be leaving. So we'll be sending this to the FBI as well. Love your contact. I'm also gonna hit some people I know over there, but I just, these people don't always talk. So
Yeah.
I think it would be good to keep some continuity here. But so we did receive an email. What was this guy's? You deleted the message.
The
Don't know
burner account on there, I did. He told me to delete it, and I did. It's a common practice. People get spooked and they want it deleted, so I do it for them.
Yeah, I was going to throw that up there, but there's tens of thousands of messages in there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very obvious why he did this, I think. He wanted to bring attention to the incident in 2019 that got covered up. Do you have any insight, any theories on this?
So we had a running theory downstairs. I've seen all of the conspiracies. I've seen all the questions about, all right, this guy is 20-year special forces. He just got done with team sergeant time. He is a very qualified and very capable Green Beret. Everybody I've spoken to who knew the guy prior, yesterday I spoke to several people, to include his old team leader, who's now lieutenant colonel. Said he was fine. Nothing out of place. His mental state was not something that anybody was concerned about. His ex-girlfriend posted photos of him bragging about how he got a Tesla and all this other stuff. So stick with me here. Very capable guy, but he loads the Tesla up. A Tesla, which Elon Musk brags about being bulletproof, right? So this is one of his selling points. It's bulletproof. We even saw Joe Rogan shoot an arrow at it and wasn't able to puncture this thing. So he loads up a Tesla knowing that it's going to, not explode like he wants it to with fireworks and a bunch of other junk, when he can make a car bomb that's going to level this place. Here's what I think. So the PAO, the Army PAO, is saying that the body inside the cab did not match the DNA of his child. All right. We also know that there was they said he was shot by a Desert Eagle. We know that there was no signature when it rolled up. So nobody shot themselves when it rolled up to it. You would have seen a large signature. Mr. Guns and Gear, he's on X. He goes into this a lot in depth. He's a firearms expert, and he talks about this, and there's no signature. So this is what happens. You get a Tesla because you know it can drive itself up to the hotel, the Trump Tower. You put a body in it, roll it up. It's already burned up, or it's already shot, excuse me. You don't want to kill anybody because that's not the message you're trying to send. You're not trying to level the tower or kill a bunch of people. So you load it up with fireworks and a bunch of junk to send a message. And we know that his signal number or his signal safety number changed. That can't be done unless you're inside that signal account. And a lot of people conjecture, was the FBI inside his signal account, whatever else. But what if he accidentally changed his safety number, goofed up there? He rolled a body up in a Tesla specifically because a Tesla can drive itself up to the tower, and did what he did to send a message to expose his stuff. And he's still alive out there somewhere.
Well, the other
Answers
thing
a lot of
is-
questions.
The other thing is maybe the FBI wasn't in his phone. This guy's obviously very competent. He's got a TSSCI clearance. I'm sure the polygraph. He's been associated with USASOC. Obviously, he was on this operation in 2019. By the way, the general in charge of that was General Miller. You'll see that in the email that we post on X later after this interview comes out. Maybe he changed his number on purpose and switched phones because he obviously was tipped off or conducted his own counter surveillance and caught Homeland or FBI tracking him. And so I think there's a very good possibility that that Matthew Livelsberger might be still alive.
It checks, as far as I can tell, it checks all the blocks.
The Desert Eagle, the Desert Eagle, yeah, a little over the top firearm. But if you think about it, if he was going to kill himself, or whoever was in that car was going to kill themselves, look, if I was gonna commit suicide with a firearm, I would go with the biggest possible caliber of bullet that I could to make sure that it actually worked, because I wouldn't want to be sitting there choking all over myself with a fucking 9mm or something.
True.
So that is, as far as I know, a 50 caliber Desert Eagle is the biggest handgun caliber that you can get. And so that could play into this as well. But
There's a lot going on.
Was there something in that email again that said that this would prevent World War III with the UAP?
Well,
drones?
it didn't say it would prevent World War III, but he was asking that. He said you need to elevate this to the media so we avoid a world war because this is a mutually assured destruction situation.
I wonder what he's trying to do with these. What he's trying to tell us with these drones.
I hesitate to even get into this realm because I have no expertise in drones or let's just call it alien technology, UFO technology, whatever's going on here. But here's one thing that I talked about with the guys downstairs earlier. Several weeks ago, I don't know if you saw that video. It was a New Jersey sheriff or chief of police. I can't remember which, but he flew their own drone up, their own department drone up to try to figure out what was going on. So we had all these drone issues that were being cited off of New Jersey and everything. And what he commented on video was how fast these things were. He said, we have a pretty robust drone, and they flew it up there to try to catch these drones that were there, and they just, bam, they were gone. He said there was no catching them, never seen anything like it. They don't even know, they have no idea what that could have been. And so you have this capability that is, I guess, in line with what we hear about anti-gravity being. And I don't know. It makes you wonder.
Well, you have the stuff with Ryan Graves and is it Dan Favor, Dave Favor?
Commander David Fravor.
The Commander David Favor, who, was it the Nimitz?
He was in the Nimitz strike group in 2004.
Yeah, the Nimitz strike group in 2004 that reported those UAPs coming out of the water that had no propulsion system.
I remember that.
But, and it's interesting that nobody seems to know what the drones are, and it just, kind of disappeared out of the media. And, and the other thing is we do have the capability to take these drones out. Well, everybody was trying to figure out what the drone's on. I brought on a very prominent businessman, Joe Lonsdale, who is the co-founder of a company called Epirus. Epirus is they manufacture these directed EMP weapons that can take out 100 drones at a time with basically it sends out a simultaneous different directed EMP weapons. Brought him on. He's also founder of Palantir, big AI platform that the military's been using.
Sure.
That kind of revolutionized warfare.
Big fan.
So we could have taken those drones out at any moment in time. In fact, I know those are deployed. So that could be. So he had two objectives. One, he definitely wanted to bring light to 2019. That obviously affected his code of morals, and the drones.
Yeah.
And he's obviously very worried about World War III, which I think everybody right now. But why Trump Hotel? Why Las Vegas?
Yeah. Conjecture and speculation at this point. I couldn't even tell you. I've heard both sides. I've seen them finding posts from his wife, who's very allegedly. I'm not saying this. I'm just saying what has been put out on social media is very anti-Trump. She has had a number of anti-Trump posts, and then him, who his family say he's a stalwart patriot, Trump supporter, all these other things, which I guess if I had to guess, just in the realm of conjecture again, I would say Trump Tower. It draws more media, more fanfare. Was this an assassination attempt? That kind of stuff. So you get more press, more media pulling into it because it is such a significant namesake, if you will. But at the same time, it was a fireworks display and very little more. And if I'm running with the theory that I proposed a little while ago, he didn't want to hurt anybody. He wanted to send a message.
No, I mean, it's very obviously, look, the guy's got great tradecraft. He changed his signal number, if that was him, or his whatever the contact number on signal. 20 plus year in special operations at the highest level. Picked a car that's bulletproof to do this. I think, there definitely wasn't mass casualties. He wasn't trying to hit mass casualties, because otherwise He would have done it at another location as well, or the bomb would have been bigger to take the entire building
agree.
out. And so this definitely wasn't, in my opinion, this definitely wasn't incompetence.
Another thing to support this. So you got the email. He desperately wanted to talk to you before December 31st. He knew beyond a shadow of a doubt, January 1st was go day. Nobody was pressuring him. At the beginning of this email, we see, first of all, I'm not under duress or hostile influence or control. Okay. So he says that he reached out to you. He was very emphatic that it had to be before December 31st because he was doing this thing on January 1st. For some reason, that was a landmark day to him. Maybe it was just because big day for everybody, January 1st. But he was very emphatic that was the time. And then the thing he was trying to do was, overall, more than anything, was get a message across on the biggest platforms possible. He was trying to talk to Pete Hegseth. Why would you want to talk to the Secretary of Defense? He's trying to blow the whistle on these war crimes. He's trying to say this thing happened, man. Like, I can't live with this anymore. He desperately needed to talk to you, the biggest platform out there. He needed to talk to Fox News. I need to get this message out. That was his overall goal. In everything else, everything I've seen, I have not seen the intended goal was to kill himself or to create a mass casualty event. It is to get this message out. And how can I do that? What is the biggest bang for my buck? How can I get that done? That's what I'm seeing here.
Yeah. It's a damn good point. Wow. Do you think there was any correlation between him and the New Orleans attack?
No.
I don't either.
I looked at all of that. I looked at the posts. I looked at people are scrambling for news. Everybody wants to post something. They want to be the guy on social media that posts the groundbreaking thing. And I saw all these connections to Fort Bragg, and they deployed together at this time. And it was great. So did 500,000 of the rest of us. I was at Fort Bragg. Oh man, tie me to Delta Force. I must have been part of Delta Force and some cyber. No, I had nothing to do with them. It's this nonsense. It's a big organization. The Army is very large. You're picking things out and you're trying to make this a thing. That New Orleans guy was a staff sergeant who got out of the active duty Army in 2015, and he was in the reserves until 2020. People are saying in the last year he was radicalized. I talked to multiple of his peers, to include, I'm going to be very, very careful with this, former leadership. I'm not going to give what echelon they were at. Former leadership of his. There was no indication at all back then that he was radicalized. He didn't say radical. And I've seen the posts. I saw several people who were saying, well, we have confirmed posts that he was saying radical Islamic things. I don't believe it because nobody he worked with confirmed that. They said, no, we had no indication that he was like this. And if you talk to people now, they said in the last year, he was radicalized. He started taking on these more radical teachings of Islam and everything else. And he had this, he fell into financial hardship and all these other things. So you're telling me this guy who was a former 42 Alpha S1 guy, human resources, pushes your paper, and then an IT guy, 25 Bravo, is somehow connected to a Green Beret team sergeant out of 10th? No.
Well, also, they found an ISIS flag in New Orleans,
which
they didn't find any of that here.
I think that might have been just some silliness on his part, trying to take on some kind of Islamic banner of jihad. I would conjecture, all conjecture, say that is likely he has no affiliations to ISIS. But
I wonder. I don't really believe in coincidences, and both of these explosions happened in the same day, or both of these attacks, whatever you want to call them, happened on the same day. The attack and the explosion, which obviously wasn't meant to be an attack.
That's fair, and I don't believe in coincidences either normally, but I look at a landmark day like January 1st, and I think, what better day? Any day. I'm going to do a thing January 1st.
Yeah.
And I think possibly old boy in New Orleans had help. I don't think that he could have done all the spotting and surveying and assessing himself. He would have likely had to at least had a spotter to say, yeah, you're good to go. Maybe. But I think that's plausible. But other than that, I have a hard time making that connection.
this email, I wonder who else he reached out to. This came in from Dabber GMIB or MLB at protonmail.com. So he was even using an encrypted email service, which I think everybody in intelligence and special operations knows what Proton Mail is.
Yeah. I would imagine if Joe Rogan, Fox News, name some other big names out there, scrub their emails right now, they could probably find a message from this guy.
Yeah.
He came to me because I'm like D-list media. I'm the guy who has kind of a platform on social media, but I'm not big time, but I can kind of get things to the big time every once in a while if it's a big enough story. And that's what he was hoping for. He was just throwing mud at the wall, trying to get somebody to get his message out.
Well, it's going to be big time now.
Yeah.
But is there anything else we need to cover that you can think of? Jeremy?
Did you want to go into the other item we talked about in the ride over here this morning?
Oh, can I say it?
Yes.
Yeah, the man pads. Well,
I'm unfamiliar.
all right. So I'm saying this with, you can decide to use this or cut it out. This is hard to work with because keep in mind, let me give some background on this. I'm an intelligence analyst and I've spent many years validating sources, taking information in, putting it back out, telling my humenters, hey, this source, this is valid. Let's, give him a rating of this, do this, recommendations. So we can identify good sources in the field that give us information, and we can say, yes, this is an A source versus an F6. This is just garbage. Somebody got paid for something. I still work in intelligence. I'm an intelligence officer. I work for a nonprofit. We Remnant Ministries out of Texas. In fact, the website is in my bio on X. I work for Dr. Pete Chambers, Green Beret, and we were involved in counter human trafficking, along with just providing ministry to all kinds of stuff, border operations. Most recently, we've been involved in West North Carolina a great deal, and we had some confirmed reporting through two solid sources. And this is where I have to be very iffy. And I told him in the car, and he can tell you offline, I cannot say this on the air, but we had two solid sources, one south of the border and then one from an element within our own government that confirmed independently of each other that some Iranian-made man pads, so surface-to-air missiles, had come across the border. We had the location and everything else. Well, Doc, that's what he goes by, Doc Chambers, he put this out on a podcast, and I was very emphatic, like, this is not stuff that I like to put on social media. I'm an intel guy by trade. This stuff is not for social media consumption. We got this to Secret Service. We did the whole gamut and got everything pushed to them, and that's why Trump was pushing a lot of this stuff out when he was, because we had told the Secret Service and they had the reporting and everything else. But we have not, to my knowledge, have not recovered those man pads. Now, I'm not privy to that, but what I do know we have done is we have apprehended the couriers on a second run of theirs, and we have local law enforcement got together with federal law enforcement and rolled up the safe house in, I will not say that on this show, but they rolled up the safe house where it was, and we have since identified what that issue was on the border.
Now, let me just. Where did they come through?
They came through an actual point of entry, in a legal point of entry along the border. I'd have to pull up the original reporting, but we had the actual.
So we now have Iranian missiles. Who knows how many?
And
inside the United States.
That is not something you're going to see in a lot of places. Like I said, I didn't even want to talk about it. It was one of those things where I was just amplifying what he was putting out already, because I was like, man, I don't know about putting this out. But it was something we found was pertinent, because at the time, Trump was still campaigning. He was flying around, and there was the reports were their intent was to take down Trump's airplane. So at the time, Secret Service switched things up a bit, and allegedly, from what I've told, they started flying him around on charters for a while until they could identify and kind of mitigate that threat. But that was That was the reporting stream that was coming out at the time. Feds handled it, off my plate.
You know, I mean, I'm with you on the not releasing certain things on social media. I understand that, but on the other hand, it seems to be the only way to demand any type of accountability or get this and force FBI, Homeland, whoever else is involved to dive into this shit and actually take part. And that's what we've been doing here on the show with Scott Mann, retired Lieutenant Colonel Green Beret, Sarah Adams, former agency targeter. We brought on Legend, who's an Army intelligence guy who goes by Legend because he doesn't want to reveal his name because he still is very involved. And we even went all the way to Vienna to interview Commander Massoud, the leader of the National Resistance Front in Afghanistan. And, you know, we've been talking about this stuff for a year. We got it to Congress. Congressman out of Knoxville, Tennessee, Tim Burchett, sent a bill up. It's literally about we need to stop funding the Taliban, $40 to $87 million a week. The Taliban has set up multiple NGOs within Afghanistan, and basically what we're doing is sending loads of cash to NGOs that the Taliban had set up. We're funding our own demise, and nobody's fucking paying attention. Nobody's paying attention. We tried to get it in the media. We got a little bit of hits. Most of them were from outside the U.S. We had a reporter out of India kind of cover it, but we've been warning about what's happening for damn near a year now. Sarah first came on, I believe it was October of 2023, was her first interview. And nobody took it seriously. Now we have the New Orleans attack. We have Iranian missiles. We have these invisible bombs. Do you know about the invisible bombs? So now these terrorist organizations have developed invisible bombs that will get through metal detectors, any kind of screening device that's out there, and they brag about this. And now we just did a Twitter Spaces with Sarah Adams, and they are now bragging that what we know about the invisible bomb, it's now even more advanced than it was before. So that means they can get this into stadiums, they can get this into airports, they can get this pretty much anywhere they want because you cannot detect it.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Great.
So, you know, for the people out there, you know, look, there's no stopping what's here. You cannot stop this.
Nope, you can't roll it back.
Not
Can't
with
put the
what we
genie back
have
in the bottle.
already in here. We have sleeper cells.
Yep.
We're already getting reports that I just lost my train of thought. Oh, we're already getting some reports that there may be more involved in the Louisiana, New Orleans attack that they're not releasing. We also, I'll tell you this, there's a group of people flying around and basically briefing up different departments, governors about what's coming, how to deal with it in their communities. There are deputies in New Orleans who put in requests for training on how to take care of a threat like this, and those fucking requests were denied. They were denied. And so what I basically want to say is it's going to be a bloody 2025. I think that's very obvious. And so for those of you that are looking for something to do and if finally come to the realization that our government is failing us, here's what you need to do. You need to get with your local communities. You need to, especially schools. Schools are very vulnerable no matter how many active shooters we have in the schools. The infrastructure that's been put in, which is minimal to none, a lot of schools still have none. You better start holding your schools accountable, and you better start raising hell and having them upgrade security no matter what the cost, because no matter what the cost is, it's not gonna amount to the loss of life that we will potentially see throughout the United States. And start calling your congressman. Get these guys to do something.
Yeah.
Start calling your senators. Get these guys to do something. They have been warned for over a year that this is coming, and nobody wants to take it seriously. Nobody wants to take it seriously. We contacted the House Foreign Affairs Committee. They did like a Zoom call. A Zoom call.
Yeah, that's
Just for a little media hit. Our government is failing us. And so it's in our hands now. It's your kids. It's your wife. It's your husband. It's your parents that are going to pay the price for what we have installed in this country. And it's now up to us because they aren't going to do anything. So on that note, like I said, it'll be on my X account, Sean Ryan 762. The emails will be there. The footage will be there. Any of the stuff we talked about will be there. It'll be obviously, on audio on YouTube, and your accounts on Instagram and X are.
I just focus on X as Samasaur. If you want to follow the military nonsense, it's Terminal CWO on Instagram.
Perfect. Well, we'll link those below. And once again, Sam, I really appreciate you coming out. Fuck it. I wonder if this fucking guy's still alive.
I do.
No matter where you're watching Sean Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.